out here. So welcome everybody, and we have some new people who've popped in here. I'm Elle Ingalls, creator of the Pressure Free Method, and I'm the host of this really insightful program. So far, the speakers have just been amazing, and I'm really, really happy to have Alex Molden join us here. And Alex, feel free to introduce yourself any way you want, and then dive right in, and we'll just have an open, organic dialogue here.
Love it. Thank you very much. My name is Alex Molden. I'm a former NFL player of 8 years, and turned leadership coach, speaker, author, and podcast host. So,
perfect. That's how I found you.
All right, yeah. So, just briefly, what a terrific talk and tools that Larissa, I said it, Larissa?
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
Thank you.
And so, like, I get inspired by listening to people and their background and the knowledge that they have. And I break things down to the foundational principles because it's something that gave me a lot of success when I played sports. Now, you have to understand, I grew up, I didn't play sports. My dad, we never watched football on TV. We never watched basketball. We didn't do that. My dad swam 1 year in high school. My mom didn't play any sports. So when I would go out in the streets and I would play with my guys, I didn't know what they were doing. I didn't know the positions. I didn't know any of this type of stuff, at a young age. And so it was embarrassing. I didn't know who Lynn Swan was. I didn't know who Tony Dorsett was, right? And so what I did is I go in. I remember one particular time I went inside the house and I was frustrated. I was like, Dad, like, how do I throw the football? How do I catch? How do I learn about this game? Because all the kids out there, they're playing it. He said, son, I can't tell you. I don't know. I never played it. But we do have a set of encyclopedias right over there. Go check it out. And so I went in there, because I don't know how many people who are watching this who know what a set of encyclopedias look like. If you're over the age of, I don't know, maybe 40, you might have had a set of encyclopedias at your house. But anyway, this was before the internet. So we go there and, they had a whole book about that thick. A, B, C, D, F, I look in F, thank goodness. They have football. And so I broke that down. I studied it. I studied it at the foundational level. And I studied it so much where now I have a better understanding of it. And that was like the biggest thing for me is like when you have a foundational understanding of things, it gives you A, confidence, and B, something where when things get kind of hectic, stressful, you can always go down to the foundational principles of it. And so learning that, I've used that all throughout my life, learning things at the foundational level. And so when I started to look at like leadership and look at the leaders that I had in my life, some that I've chose, others most of them I didn't get to choose who led me, right? I don't get to, most of you guys who are watching this, if you're not an entrepreneur, you might have a leader, a boss that you didn't choose. And then some of us, we choose leaders in our lives. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm a coach. People choose me to help guide them when it comes to leadership, right? So leadership, and Larissa did a magnificent job on touching on that, leadership and what it does. And then tag two, people, especially athletes, are put into leadership positions. But yet the people who put them there, and then also these athletes or people, right? Because I've worked with executives at Nike World Headquarters, and because they've been there, because of their experience, they automatically put into leadership roles, but they have no clue what leadership is. So when you boil things down, you understand it at a granular level, it gives you more confidence. Leadership is influence. That's it, it's influence. Now, right, what are the influencers? So I'm going to touch on maybe one or two, but I'm going to share the 10 influencers when it comes to leadership. Okay. So number one, success, right? What you have achieved. People look up to that, what you have achieved, success. Ability, right? Athletes, myself being a former NFL player, there was a lot of opportunities that came my way based off my ability. And I got treated differently because of my ability. Platform, what you do, that's a influencer. Knowledge, right? What you know. When it comes to you really looking at it, and you start to, and I understood, well, I started to kind of look at this differently, but also failure. But you got to own it. What you have not achieved, right? When you own that, when you own it, it can be an influencer. Experience, right? We just talked about that when it comes to, people that they're at a job for a certain amount of time. Automatically, people just, oh, they're experienced. They get this job or they get this promotion. Well, what if you've had 30 years of experience? Let's just say 30 years of coaching track, right? You've been a high school teacher and you're coaching track. You've been doing it for 30 years. And then people start to question, what you know and whatnot. You always lean on your experience. But what if you have no success? What if you haven't won districts or a state title in 30 years? So I'm just want to shine a light on some of these different influences. How you communicate, right? How you share. And it's not just the words that come out of your mouth, right? It's tone and it's body language. Now the percentages, I know people who are on this probably already know, but a small percentage is the words that come out of your mouth. The biggest one, I believe, is tone and then body language. So these things help influence. And influence, let me tell you, influence is not just about, following you. Me and my wife, we have 8 children. That's right, 8, right? I get to practice leadership every day. And I know sometimes, like the things that I say and to do and body language, all this type of stuff, my kids will, and I am in a leadership position. So there's positional leadership, right? But there's also relation. Like my dad was in a position of leadership. He's my dad. But I had a coach who coached me just for 1 year in the NFL. And we built a relationship that if he calls me today and asks me, Alex, I need you to run through this brick wall that's right in front of you, I'll do it before my dad would, just based off their relationship. Anyway, so moving on to that, relationships, that's an influencer, who you know, right? Who you know can cause people to follow you. And also who you know may cause people to run away from you. Either way is influence. Either way is leadership. You're just not being intentional. You're leading people away from you. It's still leadership. Most people get this first, confused and whatnot, and it's still, you're leading people away from you. And then the last thing is character. And I want to lock in on this today. Character is who you are. That's it. It's who you are. And Larissa had, talking about the phones and whatnot, and especially youth today, a lot of them, they don't know who they are. Based off of just this thing right here. Because that's my granddaughter. I don't know if you can see that. I look at it about 20, 30 times a day, every time I pick it up. So, no understanding like who you are. And I'm going to tell you, I didn't know who I was when I retired from football, because what I did, right, which is platform, that defined who I was. And once that platform is no longer there, whether you step away, you quit, most of the time, pro athletes, we don't get a chance. We don't choose when we stop playing. right? The superstars, they can, I'm going to retire, step down after 15, 20 years. That's not the majority. That's the top 2 or 3%. The rest of us, we're fired, we're kicked out, we're kicked. So if we don't know who we are, it can be very dangerous. And I didn't know who I was when I got kicked out the NFL. I wanted to keep going, but I get kicked out. And so, when you feel like that, like, because now that who you are is no longer, or their platform is no longer there, now it's like, man, what, the values, right? Yeah, self-identity. Excellent. Yeah. And so it's important to understand all these different influencers, right? And how at certain times of your life, like, I need to lean on this, I need to elevate this, I need to push this down. But the thing that I want people to understand is character is the thing that you get to practice every day. And understanding like who you are is the thing that can raise you, make you do things like beautiful things, create, and just do some magnificent things. Is also the thing the quickest thing that can bring you down. We watch ESPN every day. And so, and I coach elite level athletes, not just what they do on the field. They got coaches for that, but I want them to really understand like who they are and the things that they can create from their brand and whatnot. But I coach a lot on character, and character, just like a movie, right? Is you get to choose, you get to pick, you actually do, you get to pick the character that you want to be. Now, the thing is, it has to align with who you are. It has to align with your values, right? One thing my coach, he taught me, he said, Alex, and so when you get to understand, you get to know people, you have to see them in different environments. I will never, if somebody asks me, how is Susie Q? Or how is Elle? How is she? I said, you know what? I know her, I see her operate in this environment. I can vouch for her in this environment. I don't know her outside of that because I haven't spent enough time with her. See, most people, they miss that part. And then they vouch for somebody and then they end up being the worst person. So having somebody, a coach like my coach, he spends a lot of time with me. And not just over the phone, like, no, we go out to eat, we go in different environments, go in my environments and and then he started to see things years ago, 7, 8 years ago, he started to see things that I didn't even see in myself, in my character. Because I thought, I'm a pretty cool cat, right? He said, Alex, I've been watching, see how you operate, how you move around. At the time, I was working at Nike as a trainer, as a personal trainer, and then I did some other consulting work. And so I've been there for a long time. I was there for a long time, and he said, Alex, you treat people differently. It's like, what? What you talking about? I said, no, you treat people differently, man. It's like when I look at you and how you talk with people, and you talk with these people, executives or whatnot, and then you talk with the cook or the chef or the janitor or you talk to them differently. So that's dangerous. Yeah, it's kind of dangerous, Alex. So you're very transactional, meaning, I treat you a certain way and then I get this. And if you can do something for me, I turn into this person. If you can't, thank you. Said, you need to think about being more relational, not just transactional. So then I started to see that and man, okay. And so I know, because of the success that I had on the football field, I can use different nuggets and principles from that to help me have success in other areas of my life. I figured that out. And so I understood one of the things that gave me a lot of success is practice, how I practice. And so I practice on my character, on making sure that even doing transactional things, I try to make it relational. So when I go to Starbucks, I don't just order, give them my card, take my coffee, and then leave. I try to, for me, I have to at least get a smile. I have to at least get a smile. I want to make in every interaction. I didn't used to be like this. I'm telling you, it took a lot of work, but I want to make every interaction with me. I want to make somebody's day better. That's bare minimum. And how I can kind of get that a little bit, you don't have to say it all the time. Just say, hey, Alex, you made my day better. No, it's a smile. So I look for that at the bare minimum. And then when people start to spend a little bit more time with me, and then I start to share and not just about what I do. I just get to know them. I get to know people. I try to create a relationship. And so, the tool that I use is war. Does your words, does your actions, and does your responses, do they all align? Do they all align? And then the bottom, like the foundational layer of that is what are your values? All right. What do you value? What's important to you? My family is very important to me. Right. Like how people feel, which is intuition. I don't know if I said that one, but intuition is an influencer. It's the most powerful influencer. It's also the most unstable. Today, so I live in Portland, Oregon. It's a gorgeous week. Sunshine, blue skies. We used to live in San Diego, so I know what blue skies look like. Okay. But in Portland, it's been beautiful. It's looked like San Diego, except cheaper. Right? Today, it's a little gray. It's cool. It's a little gray, so for most people, it's kind of like, yeah, they feel a certain way, right? Based off of the weather, based off of how people treat others, right? They can have so much influence in their lives. I want to have a positive influence. I'm very particular. I want to have a positive, and I'm intentional, right? I'm intentional. I can use my words I get my body language. I can use all that to be intentional with making people feel a certain way. Now, I do understand there's two spectrums, right? I'm intentional making people feel a certain way. I want them to feel confident. I want them to, at the bare minimum, to have a great day, just to brighten their day. But on the other side, most people walk around, they're not intentional with not just how they feel, but how they make others people feel, how they talk to them, how they look at them, how they, all these different things. So influence is just, it's so many different facets of your life. And if you look at it, like when you understand it, it will, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a parent, right? Husband, wife, if you're anything, it can give you more confidence and more understanding. And so that's what I want to do. That's what I do. That's what my book is for. My book, The Ultimate Playbook for High Achievement, 11 Keys for Success in Sport and Life. It breaks everything down. And, I wrote it because coming from my background, being an athlete, and these athletes, high school, college, professional, these athletes are set apart. They're different. They're looked up. They're in leadership positions. They're in leadership positions, but they don't understand leadership and the impact that it can have in their house, out in their community, and not just in their sport. So I created this book for these athletes at all these different levels to help them understand, the beauty also the dangers that can happen when you're intentional and not intentional with this platform that you have.
Mhm. That's so beautiful. I love it so much. And so many thoughts are coming through my head. One in particular was a captain of our track team who was a leader and who noticed me. So my sophomore year, I was the worst 2-miler. I was the last girl on the track every single meet. And she constantly encouraged me and said, someday you're going to be a great runner. Like, she said these words to me. The next year, I was the number 1 2-miler. Like, complete shift. I just didn't know how to race. I didn't know what I was doing.
Or maybe you didn't have enough knowledge of
I
like the
didn't.
technique.
I didn't. I was just out for a jog for 2 miles on the track, literally. But it was her leadership changed my life. It changed my life.
So an external force came in and shared her belief
Correct.
in you, her belief. Not everybody is like a finished product.
Right.
Like a lot of us, we need technique work. Just because I know how to run or you knew how to run, didn't know that you did it efficiently. It's the same thing as parenting.
Mhm.
It's the
Mhm.
same thing as parenting. There's a lot of parents that they're parents, they're in a position of leadership, but they don't have technique on what that can do for someone
Mhm. Yeah.
and the obligation and the importance of it. These teachers, school teachers, are in leadership positions, and they just lean on just the knowledge aspect, but not the relational.
Right. Right.
Add that relational piece to it. I try to create a relationship every day, a deeper connection with my kids, with my wife, and I know it starts with communicating.
Talking, as Larissa brought forward.
Yes,
We need
yes.
to
That's
talk.
why, listen, Larissa, I was getting goosebumps. So
I love to, I wrote it in here. I wrote a couple things that you gave us, which I really love. One is transactional versus less transactional, more relational. And Ted popped in, I like transactional versus transformational, which is all relationship. So
you
people
mean
over everything.
transformational over transactional?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, transformate. Yeah, the
Yeah.
transactional is,
And
actually,
then and then how the words, the actions, the responses. So many times we're saying one thing, but our body is giving a completely different signal to someone. So we lose credibility. So that words, actions, responses, alignment, I really love that. That's beautiful.
here's a great one. I don't know how many people in here. I see some people around my age or whatnot, maybe a little bit younger. But I remember my mom used to say, my mom and my grandma, hey, when I had they asked me to do something and I had to question or I questioned it or whatnot, and I don't do as I do as I say.
Right,
Like, what type of sense does that make?
right.
No, do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah,
Like, what type of sense does that make?
right.
Like, and as parents and as leaders, we have to model behavior.
Right.
If you want to be an effective leader, you want to be a great leader, you have to model behavior. And I put a lot of emphasis on character, who you are, understand what type of person do you want to be.
And that just takes us back to those who have been with us all day so far, Desmond, exactly what Desmond Clark said. Like, we've just come right in with these bookends here of identity, and it's really beautiful. And Ted pops in, if you talk the talk, you need to walk the walk. Yeah, that we've heard that a couple times. It's so good. Yeah, it's really true. Any questions for Alex while we still have him here? You can pop a question in, or you can just come right out and ask if you want.
Alex, I'll ask you a question. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Thanks for connecting on LinkedIn last night too. That was nice. Appreciate that. In terms of the work that you're doing, like who are you working with right now to have that influence that you're having? And I love the concept too, just the intentionality, just about how you approach your day. It's fantastic.
Thank you very much. Well, most of my clients, and I have a handful because the speaking that I'm doing and the things that I have going on. Most of my clients are former athletes, whether they played in high school. Most of them, they at least made it to the collegiate level, and they are, they're stuck. Whether as an entrepreneur, trying to figure out the next phase of their life. I have one gentleman who has just retired, and now he's wanting to create something. So, I like working with athletes because I believe in this, because I'm very passionate and I have some experience and some knowledge that can help people. And but I don't like being frustrated. And so the number one thing with my clients or looking to partner is they have to want their success for themselves more than I want it for them. If that makes sense. Because I'm so passionate, and if somebody comes in and they're not as passionate, oh well, tomorrow and stuff. Now I get frustrated, and I don't like being frustrated. So for me, it's athletes know how to work. They know how to work. They know how to practice. And so, and for the most part, they know how to be intentional. So I just take that aspect of them being an athlete, I take it out, dissect it, examine it, and man, this is what makes you so successful. And this is where there could be dangers up the road. Let's try to mitigate that, and let's try to use these different things and then make that a part of who you are, and then just plug it in something that's going to give you fulfillment, not just make you happy. What's going to make you fulfilled? So hopefully that answers your question there, Teg.
That's beautiful.
Took the words right out of my mouth. That's a beautiful answer.
Well, thank you so much for being with us, Alex. It was really a pleasure. I'm so glad we are connected. We're going to move to our next speaker, so I'm going to go ahead and do the little stop recording and come back in, but have a great day, Alex.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you guys.